the Honorable Minister of State for Foreign Trade, UAE, esteemed members of the UAE delegation, my good friend, the UAE Ambassador to India, Dr. Albanna, all the captains of industry, dignitaries from different sectors represented here, different industry chambers, from different export promotion councils, many ministries that I can see represented here, and all the distinguished ladies and gentlemen. In fact, I have a room full of friends here, Mr. Abdullah, and if I were to start taking names, I think by the time you would be on the third course, I would still be taking names of all the friends who have gathered here today in your honor to celebrate the signing of probably the world's fastest comprehensive economic partnership ever finalized in the history of the world. This has been a labor of love. It was not a task. It was not a job that the teams on both sides were doing. It was truly a passionate effort to bring two countries which have deep bonds of friendship and brotherhood over years and years, which have worked together in different strategic areas, more particularly since 2017, when we entered into the comprehensive strategic partnership. Two countries which have strong bonds right at the leadership level with His Highness the Crown Prince and Honorable Prime Minister sharing very, very strong relationship with each other, with businesses on both sides, the political leadership and the people of both countries working in a spirit of true brotherhood. And if at all there was any need to reinforce or support this relationship, I think the COVID-19 period is one time which is a once in a lifetime or a once in a century occasion, but where our time-tested relations and this brotherhood has been demonstrated to the highest level. And I say this because there are 3.5 million persons of Indian origin who live and work in the UAE, but who are taken care of by the people of the UAE, by the leaders of the UAE, by the government of the UAE, as if they were their own, just as anybody would for their family. Not one call did anybody in the government of India receive, and I'm sure your experience would have been the same. Not one call from anybody in the UAE, either in panic or distress or wanting to get back to India. They were looked after like family, and trade and our engagement continued through the COVID period. Whether it was the need of food security in the UAE or India's need for crude petroleum or other products, we supported each other. We worked in the true spirit that friends are known for, and therefore today's signing of the CEPA and several other agreements in a way epitomizes the transparency, talent and trust between these two nations and the people of the UAE and India. The foundation on which we have finalized this agreement in a record time of 88 days, 23rd September 2021, when Minister Thani was here, we launched the negotiations. Our teams worked day and night. At ministerial level, we were on call every alternate day, on VC every fourth day. Nothing was left to simmer and create bottlenecks. Issues were resolved in real-time basis. The political leadership in the UAE was fully in the loop and taking decisions. Our leadership in India, including our interministerial cooperation and support, was a fine example of the whole of the government approach that Prime Minister Modi often articulates, and the extensive stakeholder consultations that define this partnership, this agreement, both in the UAE and India, helped us to ensure that when this agreement comes out in public domain in its entirety, I mean, it's out now, but as you will go into the intricate details of this voluminous document, covering a very, very holistic vision that we see for this partnership over the next many decades, you will find that it's a win-win, truly a win-win for all, on both sides, for both countries. We have also today agreed for deeper engagement between EPIDA, DP World and Aldara. Aldara is their equivalent of our FSSAI, looks after the interests of the quality standards of food products. DP World connects the two countries through logistics, and EPIDA promotes export of agricultural products. We see in this MOU the seeds of a very robust partnership that we hope to take forward to further ensure and strengthen both the food security in the UAE and India's ability to meet very exacting standards and demands for high quality processed agricultural products from India. Again, a win-win for both countries. The engagement with the UAE also has several firsts, and one of which I would like to highlight, that we have many leaders from the pharmaceutical industry with us today. Minister, you have one sitting right next to you, and for the first time ever, we have agreed, and I would like to acknowledge the graciousness of the UAE government, led by Minister Abdullah and Minister Dr. Thani, and of course with the blessings of His Highness the Crown Prince, that they have agreed that for all pharmaceutical products made in India, once it has gone through the rigorous regulatory process of either the United States or the European Union, Canada or Australia, United Kingdom, after that, the regulatory process with the UAE will be concluded in 90 days. So products approved in any of these developed economies will get natural market access to the United Arab Emirates at zero duty within 90 days of application. It's a first of its kind, truly reflective of why India is called the pharmacy of the world today, and in my view will give a big leg up for our pharma exports, not only to the UAE, but as we are all aware, the UAE is a gateway both to many countries in West Asia, to African continent, many countries in the European continent. So really, the UAE, with its strengths in logistics, being a large trading hub with very strong financial systems and a deep and very strong rule of law, the legal systems there being very strong and very swift, will provide us opportunity to expand our footprint in many other geographies. Therefore, I say this is an agreement where both sides have a mutual benefit. Both sides get market access to large pools of population, with India providing 1 billion plus people aspiring for a better quality of life, with a large middle class, with spending power, with an aspirational young Indian wanting the best of infrastructure, wanting the best of products coming in to serve him. So in some sense, this is what is a true collaboration that emerges out of true, genuine friendship. Our leaders, Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi and His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, the Crown Prince of Abu Dhabi and the Deputy Supreme Commander of UAE Armed Forces, through their personal commitment, goodwill and energy, have placed this strategic partnership in a much higher orbit. Today at the virtual summit, both leaders reinforced the desire for both countries to work in the future with the shared vision of prosperity for all, with sustainability at the core of our agenda, and looking forward to a bright future as the UAE completes 50 years of its formation and has a vision for the next 50 years of its development, and India celebrates 75 years, our Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, 75 years of independent India, preparing ourselves to the 100th year in 2047. Both countries having very, very important milestones this year, and both countries with a shared vision of prosperity for our businesses, our people going forward. A very, very special thanks to His Excellency Mr. Abdullah Al-Mari, His Highness Dr. Thani Al-Zaidi and Excellency Dr. Al-Banna for the wholehearted cooperation extended to India, to me, our teams. A big thank you to the teams from the UAE led by Mr. Juma and our team led by Dr. Shrikar Reddy. My compliments to Secretary Commerce, Mr. BBR Subramaniam. He's hidden where? There he is. And a grateful thanks to all the various ministries and stakeholders with whom we had extensive consultations. And I can share with you, every single aspect of this agreement has complete buy-in and stakeholder agreement, has complete agreement from every ministry of the Government of India. So truly a partnership that defines the future for UAE and India. And I hope in the coming years, we have an immediate target in the next 5 years to expand our merchandise trade to $100 billion. But since I have many friends in this room, you all know that I'm not going to be satisfied with meeting targets. We all have to work to exceed targets. I'm not giving a number as yet, but I can assure you that 100 billion should and will only be the beginning of a much, much deeper and robust engagement between the two countries. I remember this whole negotiation taking place in COVID was not easy. Visits and personal interaction was restricted to a few meetings, but both teams were bold. They were willing to engage both physically and virtually, took major decisions through this 88 days of negotiations. And ladies and gentlemen, around the 20th of December, exactly 88 days from the first meeting, we had a full ready document, legally scrubbed and ready for final approvals that obviously take a certain amount of time. But truly, this is one agreement which I think sets the template and demonstrates to the world that India means business and India is conscious of its global role in the years to come. I think many of us will remember that dialogue from, I think it was Om Shanti Om, where Shah Rukh Khan, I don't know, I think I'm told Shah Rukh Khan is quite popular in UAE also. Where Shah Rukh Khan said, and I quote, अगर किसी चीज की दिल से, अगर किसी चीज को दिल से चाहो तो पूरी कायनात उसे तुमसे मिलाने की कोशिश में लग जाती है. When you desire something very deep from within your heart, the entire universe conspires to help you achieve that, to make it happen. It's also a Paul Coelho kind of comment, if I remember correctly. Right? Well, I think this particular engagement came from the heart. And I would like to acknowledge that all of you have been wonderful in helping us reach this milestone. I know that some of you have also attended other engagements where we've launched negotiations and agreements, and it's been a fiery pace. We are in negotiation now with Australia, with the United Kingdom, with Canada. The Canadian minister will be in India on the 11th of March, and you'll hear some good announcements on that date. Israel is under active negotiation. We are also looking at the European Union, with which we have deep trading and service sector interests, both in goods and services, and also many market access and other issues. And European Union is 27 countries, somewhat like 27 states in India. So negotiations are very long drawn, but we are engaging with European Union. The GCC countries have shown interest and would like to engage with India to finalize an agreement with the Gulf Cooperation Council, the Gulf Cooperation Council. So a lot of hard work for the Commerce Ministry, a lot of work for all of you from industry, because all of these agreements will require you to be a part of the negotiations, to be a part of the consultations, to be a part of the big heart and openness that such negotiations require. It's a two-way traffic, as I've said earlier. We'll all have to have a deep understanding of how we can benefit, but also how we need to be competitive and be willing to open our doors to that competition. Partnerships are always two-way, and it's that two-way partnership that I'm glad and delighted has begun today. This journey with the United Arab Emirates is going to truly become a template of sorts for many other future engagements. Before I conclude, I'd also like to acknowledge and thank all the good work that has happened in the United Arab Emirates at the Dubai Expo 2020. We have received huge cooperation from the government of UAE. There are times where I've called Dr. Al-Banna for some assistance and got it within, was it 10 minutes or 11? I lose track of that. 11 minutes. Okay, so sorry. So it's a relationship where we talk in minutes, not hours and days. But the UAE India Pavilion at the Expo has crossed 1 million visitors. And I'm grateful to all the participants from industry and our exporters who have supported us in this journey at the UAE Expo 2. Friends, India is the destination. I believe 1.35 billion Indians provide a huge opportunity for the world. And the world today is looking for goods and services from India, high quality goods and services, because they trust all of you. They trust that India will offer them good quality, good prices, and it is that trust that we have to all maintain. I urge upon Indian industry, service providers, and also government officials, our regulatory authorities. All of us have to work together, not only to maintain that trust, not only to earn greater trust, but to ensure that our work with the rest of the world is of the highest standards, and we will all have to collectively ensure that we never break the trust of the world. In the post-COVID world, we will see huge opportunities. The world wants to work with us. We have to maintain that trust. As Prime Minister Modi has rightly said, it is only partnerships that will get us to our goals of a prosperous India, our goal to meet the aspirations of every young boy and girl for a better quality of life. Today, two partners are marking the beginning of a new era of collaboration, anchored in friendship and time-tested trust. It is a defining moment for both the UAE and India as we embark on this exciting journey filled with infinite potential. Thank you very much for your patience. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much, sir, for your kind words. I would now like to invite His Excellency Mr. Abdullah bin Tauk Al Mari, Honorable Minister of Economy, United Arab Emirates, to the podium to address this August gathering.
Good evening, everyone. It's a remarkable moment to be here with you all in one room. I feel the energy and I feel the eagerness. But I think what we reached in today is not just that we did this alone in government. I think you guys have helped a lot in the discussion, in the negotiation, in the aspects of actually making this agreement happening today. I think this is a very, very important for us, both nations. I cannot add more than my brother Piyush Goyal has mentioned. And I think what he actually delivered is something which is remarkable. I can't say it on stage like this. But before starting, I'd like to really extend my deepest thanks to this gentleman here, who really, really made things really happen. And I remember when I spoke with His Excellency Dr. Thani Az-Ziyudi, he says during the 88 days of negotiation, there was sometimes they say, well, the negotiation team reached some deadlocks. But let me call Piyush and I'll get back to you. We'll sort it out. I see him the next day. I say, how things went? He said, well, things are done, smooth, and we are on track again. So, wow, this is really remarkable history. I as well would like to thank His Excellency Dr. Thani and his team, the team in the ministry today, to really remarkably taking this agreement to the next level, a level of readiness, fittest nations, ready for an economy to really begin. It's an amazing time to see COVID-19 took us down for the last year and a half, but thanks to the pharmaceutical industry, we're back into action. Putting the pharmaceutical as a part of actually making things happen is important. And history was made today. Let's make that happen. UAE and India really have formed strong ties in the last couple of decades. We built partnerships built on trust, transparency, cooperation, and a really shared vision for prosperity. It's an uncertain times where today this complex world changes. We have a challenging world where trade is going to be re-engineered. Trade is going to be redesigned. And the aspects of what it entails in this CEPA today especially signed in February 2022, entails that there is a redesign of trade globally. And I think it's an important time to start a year where you sign an agreement to reduce tariff on 80% of trade and goods and opening new services. We spoke about digital trade as well, which is a very vital and important part of it. And we allow the digital trade, not just locked, actually, it's a nimble and more agile. We will add more pages, I was saying to Brother Piyush, to the agreement, because the digital trade by itself is not a closed chapter. It's open for actually more amendments and more future partnerships. So the CEPA is not just a chapter that's closed, but more of chapters that's going to be in discussions for the future to add and entails what digital trade really means. And this is something which is very historic with the comprehensive agreement. The CEPA today between UAE and India really pushed the measures and pushed the boundaries beyond trade agreements. In the WTO, in the G20 meeting summit, let's said really the most important part of any trade now is post-COVID-19. And through this agreement and signing this today, this really shows that this is something that we can build bases on and use it for future CEPAs as well in the next couple of months. I think it's important that this agreement has been transparent and it was predictable. It is as well inclusive. I always asked Brother Dr. Thani, did we include the private sector? Have we made sure that we have engaged the private sector as much as we can? Did we make sure that everything is covered? And the answer was yes, yes, and yes. And this is something as well which is very vital, because when you bring private sector into the table, they make the business happen. I think our job as ministers is done now. And I think the job for business people, for traders, for investors, actually starts today. And I think it's important to look at it from that kind of perspective, where we add the environment for businesses to really happen. In the UAE, we managed to change a couple of legislations and a couple of regulations in the last couple of years, which was the 100% ownership for foreign direct investments, which is, as well was vital and historic in the UAE. The other aspect was very important is we changed the commercial transaction law on bounce checks, where it used to be in the past criminalized. Today is a civil case and better business environment and friendlier business environment. The last thing I think which was important for us as well was the visa regime, from gold visa to green visa to freelance visa, because we understood from second day we were in the ministry that any fuel for any economy is talent, and talent attraction is something which is very vital and important. We want to enable more and more businesses now to take this opportunity of the CEPA and move forward. We decided just an hour ago that we want to create and conduct more roadshow on the ground, more business-to-business forums where we will attend, and where we entail the details of the CEPA into action. I think this spirit of entrepreneurship that has been taken through ministers is very important, that we need to help others as well to take the same aspects. So crucially, we are doing this together. We're not alone. And I think that's something which is very important. Our agreement is a towering achievement that really builds upon more towers into it. We need to reshape the future and really look into trade and investment to accelerate post-COVID-19 and the advancement of it to develop what was really needed for the prosperity of people. It is my firm belief as well that we are at the beginning of the end of the pandemic. And I was telling His Excellency Brother Piyush, I say, we need to start pushing more activities where it's more physical, getting people to move, getting people to go back to the economy and get things moving and thriving. So nearly 2 years ago, the unprecedented health crisis that really hit us forced us to stop, whether we wanted or not. But as well, it drew opportunity, where virtual meetings happens, and 88 days of negotiation of a CEPA wouldn't happen on a physical, but would happen as well with a hybrid stage. So this is something which is very important to us, and I think it's important for us to carry forward. I don't want to take a lot of your time. I would like you to as well to enjoy the dinner but I'm here and I'm available to speak to you guys, brothers and sisters in this room, and to really discuss the CEPA and future aspects. Thank you very much.